Have you ever really wondered how a text can shape not just a person, but an entire civilization from the ground up? That's what we're looking at today. We're going to dive into how the very first Muslims engaged with the Quran. And get this, it wasn't just a book to be read. For them, it was a living revelation, a complete blueprint for life. Let's explore how they literally built their world from this one source.
Okay, so for that very first generation of Muslims, clarity was everything. Their entire approach, everything they did, was built on this one single foundational principle. There had to be one central source of guidance, period.
And that emphasis on one source was absolutely non-negotiable. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, made sure that all concepts, all values, their entire worldview, everything was drawn directly and purely from the Qur'an. And this wasn't just about a list of rules. No, this was about forging a new personality, about purifying the heart and soul from a single, unadulterated spring of knowledge.
So when we talk about his companions, we're talking about the Sahaba. And these were the men and women who learned the Quran straight from the source, from the man who received the revelation himself. Just imagine that. Their experience was so direct, so profound, it was completely transformative.
Okay, so how did they actually learn it? Well, it wasn't about speed reading or just trying to memorize as much as possible. Not at all. Instead, they followed this very specific, very deliberate methodology, one that was all about practical application.
I mean, look at this process. It's so methodical. They would take just 10 verses at a time, and they wouldn't move on. They wouldn't even think about moving on until they had fully absorbed the meaning and put that meaning into action in their own lives. It was like this slow, deep marination in the guidance, not some race to the finish line. The goal was always transformation, not just information.
The whole heart of their approach is captured perfectly in this one narration. He says they learned the Quran, the knowledge, and its application together. That's the key word, right? Together. For them, there was zero separation. Knowledge wasn't some abstract thing you just stored in your brain. It was a living, breathing reality expressed in everything you did.
So what kind of understanding does this kind of methodical approach actually produce? Well, it fundamentally shaped their entire view of the world. And it all starts with the grand canvas of the cosmos itself.
Through the Quran, they learned to see the universe not as just some random collection of matter, but as a book filled with signs all pointing to a creator. It starts right here, with the earth, anchored by these firm mountains, described as a place of blessing and sustenance. And then the perspective just lifts. We move from the solid ground beneath our feet to the very formation of the heavens, described with this powerful imagery of cosmic smoke. You can almost feel the incredible scale and majesty in those words.
And the verse finishes with this just beautiful image of the night sky. The stars, they aren't just random balls of gas. They're described as lamps, a deliberate adornment. Now, when you see the universe that way, every single glance at the night sky becomes an act of reflection, doesn't it?
All right, so we go from the vastness of space, and now that same understanding zooms right in, focusing on the nature of our own lives here on Earth. And it uses this incredibly powerful metaphor from farming to explain our reality.
The Quran paints this really vivid picture to explain worldly life. It starts out like rain falling from the sky, bringing this burst of growth and greenery. Everything is vibrant, it's productive, it's beautiful. But, and this is the crucial part, just as that beautiful, flourishing field hits its absolute peak, it's made like a clean mown harvest. Gone. Its beauty is temporary. This verse was teaching the companions to appreciate the life of this world for sure, but to never forget how fleeting it really is.
So when you see the universe as a book of signs, and you see this life as a fleeting harvest, what's the natural result? Well, it's a profound sense of purpose, and that purpose finds its ultimate expression in devotion.
This verse really paints a picture of the person whose knowledge has truly turned into action. They're standing in prayer during the quiet hours of the night, and they're motivated by two things: a healthy fear of what's to come and a deep, deep hope in God's mercy. This isn't forced, it's the natural outcome of that deep understanding we've been talking about. And then the verse ends with this really sharp question. And it's a challenge, really, for all of us. The Quran is drawing a very clear line in the sand. True knowledge, the kind that leads to awareness and to action, it fundamentally changes a person. It sets them apart from those who are just unaware. Now, this entire system of learning and living, it was never meant to just end with that first generation. Of course not. It was designed to be a living legacy, something passed down through time. But how exactly? Okay, this is crucial. The legacy isn't just about belief, it's about our daily conduct. The Quran even guides our speech, telling believers to always choose the best words. And the reason for it is so practical, because harsh or thoughtless words can be used to sow conflict between people. It's just brilliant social wisdom, all rooted in a spiritual source.
And this famous saying from the Prophet really just frames the entire legacy perfectly. The process starts with that deep, action-oriented learning we talked about, and it culminates in the noble act of teaching it to others. It's a continuous, beautiful cycle of enlightenment, and it's meant to be renewed in every single generation.
And all of this leaves us with a final thought, right? I mean, we live in an age of total information overload. We can access anything in seconds, but this early methodology, it prized depth over breadth, transformation over information. So the question for us today is this. In our own quest for knowledge, how do we make sure we're finding not just more facts, but true life-altering understanding?